Welcome to football.
Don't run that over here. What the wrong with you?
I felt that one way up here.
Up here, run around.
What's going on, everybody? Running Around the
happening?
podcast. How you guys doing?
Back in line, ready to run some routes.
It's getting crazy.
Wild card weekend was crazy. Games that we thought were going to be close didn't be that close, and games that we thought were going to be, relatively easy turned out to be some blowouts, or turned out to be some hard-fought matches.
No lie. We called it.
Continuing the trend from the regular season.
We called it. We called the damn playoffs so far up until this point. It's nitty gritty. I mean, look, we were all potential on the Raiders, iffy, right? Mm-hmm. And you two guys, I wasn't drinking the 49er Kool-Aid there, but you two, I mean, it was Charlie, and it was Brady,
him.
and it was Brady came in and was like, look, this is how I believe it could be done. The Dallas Cowboys looked like Dak was on fire. The chemistry between the receivers, the defense, and how everybody's been playing, and Micah Parsons firing on all cylinders. It just looked crazy, but it didn't.
Extremely disappointing effort from them.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
Went out. Them and the Cardinals both went out in a dull flame.
Cardinals were pathetic. That was the worst showing, as bad as Dallas was optically, with everything they were shooting themselves in the foot with. To see that
the Cardinals, oof.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray had like a 7 quarterback rating, I think it was. Like a 7. Like
he looked completely shook, like he was a high schooler playing in the NFL.
I was so invested in Arizona. Like, I was completely 110% invested in Arizona and everything Arizona has done up until that point. But it really just goes to show that even though that this is a team game, the presence, the camaraderie, the understanding, the two that DeAndre Hopkins has built with Kyler Murray to that point, you just seen it. I forget the other game. There was another game where Ertz and him walked on the field at the same time, and Hopkins ends up going down there and getting the ball when he was injured and shouldn't even have been playing. He literally goes down there, gets the first down. I think they end up scoring a play or two later. But it literally just reassured me how important DeAndre Hopkins is to Kyler Murray and the team in general, because
what he needed to settle down so many times. Like, if he just would have been able to hit Hopkins for a first down, just to get the eyes off of him, because that's how I felt like this game was going to go. With no Hopkins on the field, they were going to solely be able to put their mind towards Kyler Murray. And
he couldn't
solely focus on him.
He couldn't find Christian Kirk that much. He couldn't find A.J. Green when A.J. Green was always the guy he went to a lot as well. And, I'm just very disappointed that you trade for Ertz. We get no Ertz. We got no Ertz that game. We may have gotten one pass thrown in his direction. There's something going on there. I don't know if he's in the playbook. I don't know what the deal is. But we just didn't
Don't put the whole blame on Kyler. I don't.
No, I'm not.
That was a poor game plan.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
Nothing worked for them across the board.
I'm just saying. Well, we don't know. I didn't get no Ertz because I don't know. Ertz didn't get any attempts, so I really don't know. And it's just like it was just a bad time for something like this to play out for a team that really worked their tails off. Not only this year, but the year before, they worked their butts off, and literally, like, I don't know, it was like they were playing this like it was a 40-yard dash, and it wasn't an endurance race this season because they got to a certain point, and ever since
Charlie shared something with me where Cliff Kingsbury in the second half of of every head coaching job he's had in the second half of the seasons, he's got a terrible losing record. Not just a losing record, but a terrible one. I'm
Even
talking
at
like
Texas Tech, starting
I'm
off
talking
hot.
like a I'm talking like a 30% win chance. Like,
Do you think
30%.
that's? Do you guys think that that's because the game plan in his eyes, he will never change it, and in the pros, there's just too many guys on every sideline watching the film, watching the tape, and saying this guy is friggin' predictable. This is what he's gonna do. He doesn't change up from.
It's either he gets figured out and doesn't change, or he changes too slow and he still thinks what was working can still work with minor changes.
Right. It's interesting moving forward. You know, that team, I really believe, had if the whole 53-man roster, and I mean, I'm sure other teams you could say that about as well. You know, this team was healthy throughout. You know, maybe things could have been different. But you know, it's just tough to see them just tank. As soon as, I don't want to blame Kyler. I don't want everybody to think I'm blaming Kyler, but as soon as Kyler got hurt, from Kyler being hurt, moving forward, we seen Brady said it. I'll shouts out Brady. You know, Byron. We seen very good amounts from Colt McCoy. Good for Colt McCoy. He came in and he was capable of running that system. We've seen some good things from him. But it just seemed as though when Kyler got hurt, like the team was feeling it. You know, I don't know if it was the DeAndre not being on the field thing, but it was.
They definitely hit a wall.
100%.
And I mean, at the beginning of the year, even midpoint in the year, although I wasn't a believer long term in the Cardinals, I thought sincerely that's going to be the team in the wild card round. It's going to be a very tough out for whoever they end up playing. And they weren't by the time the season came to an end. I mean,
they were not at all.
They were a tune. they were a walkthrough. That game was a walkthrough for the Rams.
Well, let's jump into the divisional round battles here we got going.
Let's go.
Saturday afternoon, 4:30. You got the Cincinnati Bengals going into the number 1 seed, Tennessee Titans.
Wow.
Cincinnati Bengals had that game against Oakland where they almost let Oakland come back. They got that last-second interception to seal it. And, you know, Tennessee coming off that bye, getting healthy. And Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite here. I know you guys might not agree with that, so how you feeling?
I mean, I definitely don't agree with that. Now, maybe my whole attitude about this could change. I don't know, Derrick Henry, you know, I heard, I don't know if I heard wrong, but I heard that he had contact with someone, and after he made contact with such individual, he got up off the ground and said, everything's good. Now,
yeah, he did padded practices today, so
now that is tough for me because
we just saw Cam Akers look pretty damn special. I mean, albeit obviously the Cardinals didn't show up in too many phases of the game, but Akers was fast.
Akers looked good. Akers
he
coming off that injury way early.
95 total yards in the game.
Yeah, cutting fast, downhill.
He looked super good.
The way he hit Budda Baker.
He did look super good. He did look super good. I'm not going to lie.
I think there's something to be said about Henry getting back into game shape, though. I mean...
Hey, but King Henry, number 22, coming back on Saturday the 22nd of 2022, and it's been 22 years since the Titans have gone to a Super Bowl. Not saying they're going to be the Super Bowl, but it's like just all the 22s linking up right now.
That's tough.
Synergy.
That's tough right there to debate that. That's tough. When you got things falling in line like that's tough.
Planets aligning for King Henry right now.
That's tough.
What are you looking? I know you like Cincinnati a lot, Ed. What are you in this matchup based off what we've seen this season? How do you feel? What are the edges for Cincinnati in this game in your eyes?
Well, I mean, if Cincinnati can go up early on this secondary and allow Jamar Chase to do things because let's face it, right? Can we just all agree for a second? After watching that Raiders game, and say the game before that, his very last end of the regular season game. I mean, they were doubling. He had on multiple plays I seen the Raiders had a guy over the top and a guy underneath. And it didn't matter because wherever Jamar Chase was going to be is where Burrow put the ball. So we're like at this point
they had a great synergy. I messaged you guys in the chat and I was saying like they just know like that back shoulder route for Jamar Chase
is incredible.
Anytime he felt like stopping and letting the corner keep going, the ball was there a half second later. Like they both knew right when he was going to do it.
It's
and like it, you know, and it's just one of those things. Like that's top level wide receiver QB combo because you know you see even Tom Brady on his second year with you know Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and you know even a little bit messing up with Gronkowski in this new system where the receivers have multiple routes and the QB has to know what route they're going to choose kind of scenario.
Yeah, the option routes.
The option routes, and it just works so well for them because it's like, oh hey, ready? I'm turning around, and they both know this. Like before it happens, they both know.
And I mean, with that being said, with you doubling Jamar Chase and still not being able to take him out of the game, almost. I hate to say it, I hate to do this because they're just so much more solidified, but it's almost Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers-esque. The type of relationship, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about
what it looks like it's growing towards. Sure.
I mean, well, first of all, it didn't start in the pros. We need to remember that them two played together at LSU, won a championship together at LSU. The guy is a savage. And
Chase sat out a year too.
I mean, and for me,
that's crazy too.
And for me, the edge would be, you know, if you're the Tennessee Titans, the number one thing I need to do here is I need to be able to make this game our game. I need to take Jamar Chase out of this as much as I can. And I just don't know. This is the, you know, and I'm bringing this up because, you know, we just really lifted up Cam Akers and we said, look at the game Cam had. Well, the week before that, I don't think Cam was as good as until he played Arizona, which in his defense, he did not run or play all year. So the fact that it's kind of similar, but it's not because he needed a week, right? And I'm just fearful. Henry played all season, basically, for the most part. What was he out? 7 games? It's like seven or eight games, something like
half of the season.
I think it's been 10.
Really?
Well, yeah, because the longer season. So yeah, I think he went out in week
10 weeks. Week 8 against the Colts. He broke his foot in like the first quarter, right? He played that whole game, and then he goes out on IR.
That's G.
Right? I'd much rather take a broken foot recovery than a torn Achilles recovery. Let's remember this.
Okay.
Cam Akers came back from a torn Achilles. And, you know, again, it's going to take a little bit to recover. And hats off to the man coming back.
But a much bigger man in Derrick Henry, though, too.
Yeah, much bigger man. True.
Different running style as well. But, I mean, I guess thinking about it, apples to apples, yeah.
So my concern, my worry, my concern is, will Henry need a game to get going? You know, because maybe the first 2 steps, which are so vital to his success, maybe these 2 steps, Hubbard gets around the corner, or you know, whoever it may end up may be over there for that Bengals defense. I don't know. But if I'm the Texans, the most important thing for me is to allow this game to not turn into a shootout, and I control this game with the run game to the best of their ability. Because if I'm the Tennessee,
I think that's your best defense against the pass defense.
100%, and I believe 1,000%, dude. If you think that Ryan Tannehill is going to go blow for blow with this dude that is melting suns right now, this dude is fucking breaking hearts right. This guy is making Cleveland sweat right now. This guy is not, bro. I'm just saying that I believe that that's going to be the keys to the success, to stopping the Bengals moving forward, period. I don't think their defense is going to really come into play too much, right? Because, again, if this turns into a shootout, my money's on the Bengals. But if Henry shows up like king with the crown, and we know and here he is, and it's time, and he puts the shoes on and goes, then we're looking at a completely different game here. We're looking at a game that maybe the Cincinnati Bengals can't win. I mean, realistically, if they go down the field and this ends up, and what I mean by that is the Bengals are still going to score. I'm not saying they're not going to score because Henry's on the field. What I'm trying to get into people's minds and get everybody understanding is that time, even though you got 4 quarters and they're 15 minutes apiece, it doesn't matter now because this is going to turn into a possession game. And if the Titans have the ball last, then that's how this could go. It could be shootout.
Seattle Seahawks game where it's the Seattle's beating them up, and then you just let King Henry just run there late in the game.
Yeah.
And the very last,
when no one can stop him, I mean, running the ball is just as effective as a nice passing offense when he's breaking off 12 to 15 yards a run. But I agree with you. I think you made a couple of really great points with the fast start for Cincinnati. I think that's very, very important, and I really think that they will get off to a quick start, and ultimately, that if Tennessee wants to win this, they're going to have to control it on the ground. I think it's going to take a while. I think, I agree with both of you guys. It's going to take a while for Henry to kind of warm up, which is kind of his style. He is a second half closer, so. I don't think he's going to get the full Derrick Henry workload.
And Foreman's been good, so I don't see them not giving him the ball and splitting the carries to relax.
I think
Henry
that would be
until
smart.
They need Henry.
Yeah.
But I can also add this because I think this is a bad matchup for the Bengals, especially because they have some key injuries there on that D line. And Eddie's favorite in the trenches because their best D tackle just got put on IR, Larry Ogunjobi. And then both their other D tackles are banged up. Their defensive end, Hendrickson, their best pass rusher, he's on concussion protocol, might not make it back. They have a linebacker who I think might not make the game either. So you're not talking that similar scenario of Jonathan Taylor and the Colts versus the Bills when the Bills only were missing a D tackle in the center and their run-stopping linebacker. That's the only thing they were missing. And Jonathan Taylor went for like 200 yards against them. And I see that playing out like that.
I got to stick it on Ogunjobi. On the season, when he was in the game for the Bengals, they had the 5th best defensive line. And then
wow.
Yeah. Oh no,
that's important. That's important. And that's why I want the defense to some way, somehow figure out how to get a stop or two so we can get up 14, maybe even 21. But you're 100% right. I mean,
I'll say let's go back to Charlie because he got cutting off there with the camera.
Well, it was just with him off the field, they were 25th. So they dropped 20 spots, even when he was subbed out on plays around the league for defensive line play. And that's against the run and the pass.
Yeah.
Just from that one guy being out.
Yeah.
So he definitely was a factor. And on the season, Cincinnati was 7th best against the run.
Yeah, and I'll say, and so for the other bad matchup is obviously that Titans secondary. They are top 10 defense for opposing QB's completion percentage, sacks, interceptions, QB rating, passing touchdowns, turnovers, and not to mention that Kevin Byrd's the best safety in the league right now, graded on multiple sources.
Absolute ball.
He can take that deep ball away from Chase. So now you are having so agreed. They can go up early, or if they can keep moving the ball. But if they're getting held to field goals, I like the run game of the Titans in the red zone versus the pass game of the Bengals.
I agree, but let's not forget about Mixon. I would like to see the Bengals try and play the same kind of ball that the Titans are going to try and do, which is take this slowly. Take everything slowly, right? Consume as much.
Going to do that though.
Consume as much
territory for the Bengals. That's new territory.
That's very out of character because they are young bucks that are hungry and just want to show off.
Yeah, but the coach, if the coach knew what was good for him, he would settle down and turn this into we're the one. Maybe go up 14 and then say, if it's possible, if it's even capable of the Cincinnati Bengals to get a stop from the Titans. turn that around, go down there with the flashy car, get it done, go up your 14, and then play this game that you know the Titans are going to try and play. So you don't have to continuously with the defense go back out there and try and do this with some guys that you wouldn't have had doing it if you had your way, if it was, under the right circumstances. I mean, this is a playoff game, and they're going to go out and do their thing, and people are going to try and score at will, and there's no doubt about that. But
on the flip side of things, you're going to be dealing with a pretty healthy Titans rested offense as well. They're going to have Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown's been on fire the last couple of weeks of the season as well. I'm with you on Tannehill's not going to light the world on fire, but for the first half of games, both these teams averaged 13 points in the first half. I do think it's very important that the Bengals get off to a quick start because
it's vital.
Brady dropped the turnover stats for the Tennessee defense, but the flaw in that defense is they give up a lot of yards. They're 25th against the pass in yardage. So the Bengals should be able to move the ball. And I agree with you on Joe Mixon, which is you get down in the red zone. I do like the options that the Bengals have.
They were running the ball against the Raiders. They were handing it off to him. It wasn't just throw. They were slowing it down. They were handing it off to the Raiders. They almost gave, them guys the opportunity to come back and handle it, just like San Fran did.
I mean, they only had 83 yards rushing, though. The Bengals only had 83 yards rushing against the Raiders.
I agree with
that.
More than that.
Just that 80 to 100 and something yards. If they get that out of Mixon, they're usually winning the game.
I would agree if you're not facing a good secondary. I think you need more run game. This secondary.
Let's not forget the Tennessee defense that we saw pretty big flashes from throughout the season, from Autry and Simmons up front, getting after the passer. I mean, their linebackers, they got Landry, they got Bud Dupree, signed Cunningham from the Texans earlier midseason. I think all those guys are above average linebackers and different makers at times. Obviously, Dupree not as much in the passing game as far as coverage goes, but he's a special edge rusher. That's why they signed him.
The Titans have been super impressive this year because
I
have. Mike Vrabel probably coach of the year.
I would put I'll give this for him. They used 91 different players this year. That's a league record.
Wow.
They had the first ever too as well. They have 8 wins against teams with a winning record.
Yeah, I did see that.
The only team ever to have 8 wins against a win in a season.
No, they surprised me all season long. That's why I'm ultimately my game script, my prediction for this one, Bengals go up in the first half. I'm thinking like a 14-10, 13-10 type of situation. Henry gets his touches to get him kind of eased in there. And then I feel like Henry and the defense slow the game down, kind of like how you were talking about, Eddie. On both sides of the ball, start to take a little bit of control in the trenches and start to throw off the rhythm and timing that I feel like Burrow and the Bengals are going to have a little bit of to start the game. That they are going to be able to get off to a quick start and put some points on the board. But I think second half is where I trust Mike Vrabel, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but his track record this season, he's been pretty darn good at making second half adjustments. And I think ultimately it's going to be like a 24-20 situation to where Tennessee is able to dictate pace and the defense makes enough plays against Burrow. And let's not forget that offensive line for the Bengals is still suspect. And if they do have to play from behind, even if it's 4 or 5 points, and he's forced to throw in obvious passing situations, Tennessee's got some people that can get after the quarterback. So I think I'm going with Tennessee on this one ultimately, but I think it's going to be a great game.
I agree. I have Tennessee as well. I think they can take advantage of this banged up D line and the front seven that's hurt. And they just, Vrabel is a great coach. He's going to limit Ryan Tannehill to smart passes, and
Hopefully he
they're
does.
yeah, and I think they're the better
And
turnover
him
team.
expected too.
So
He's
Eddie,
like a Jimmy G. He can make or
very
break
similar,
very easily.
very similar. But I think both these teams had a lot of wins off of 49 very similar teams, but they both have a lot of wins off the back of their defenses, and
No,
this
Cincinnati.
defense is
Cincinnati. Hands
top
off.
notch.
Hats off to them. They played very good defense this year. Impressive.
Yeah. How
What's
you
your
feeling over
what's your
there, Eddie?
final solution for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think going with the Titans is definitely the smarter pick, considering that I believe that, with them being a lot healthier than Cincinnati, eventually this is going to take a toll because, injuries, or if they don't mount, if they're not an issue right away, they mount over time because of rotation. Some teams, I mean, let's face it, you have
And that's a key spot to have an injury against that particular attack.
Yeah, because you're
Being
gonna
so
need
strong on
you're
the
gonna
ground.
need to get the guys in the trenches a fucking break every now and again, just because the team is going to be running the ball heavily. I mean, I'm thinking 30 touches and distributing down the line to
If they're
Henry and
smart,
Foreman.
yeah.
I mean, that's what I see it being. But if there is a way for Cincinnati to go up 14, then I see them. I need them to go up 14 in the first half, and I need 100 yards out of Mixon. If this coach is listening, the one thing you can listen to me right now is don't abandon the run, even if it potentially looks as though the run isn't working. It is working because they're stopping it, and you're keeping them honest, so that you could play that card later on a play action when on 3rd and 3 for 8 consecutive times you ran the ball.
Ultimately, it protects Joe Burrow in the long run. Yeah.
It ends up not always showing its value right away. You end up getting the value when the value is needed most, and that's in the fourth quarter. If Joe Mixon and the Cincinnati Bengals can run for over 100 yards in this game, I think Cincinnati can win this. And I think Cincinnati, if they just go and try and do it, instead of saying the Eagles, we're trying to throw the ball, just try it and see what happens. I'm going Cincinnati here, not because this is the easier pick to make, but because I truly believe in Joe Burrow and what Joe Burrow has been able to do. And when you have one guy, and you're also going to have that in the other locker room, you're going to have Derrick Henry coming back from an interesting injury, a fractured foot, a cracked bone that needed surgery. He took care of it. He's back on the field. These guys are going to come out and they're going to swing the hammers for this guy because they want to win. They don't want him coming back to get injured, to come back from an injury and play in a game where, he didn't need to play because we were going to lose this anyway. I mean, the same thing goes for both ends, but it's a little different when you're the quarterback and you're the one distributing the rock. I would like them to key in early and often on Jamar Chase. I don't think Jamar Chase needs to have a 100-yard game for them to win this. I think Jamar Chase can have a ton of targets and maybe not a lot of catches, but Tyler Boyd and these guys, we're going to need them to stand up. Uzama's going to need to stand up heavily in this. I need you blocking. I need you catching. It's going to take an entire team effort.
It's going to be off the arm of Joe Burrow. There's no doubt about it. And do I believe that they can do that? I do. But I think this is a really tough matchup against a well-rested team. And like you said, with some key injuries and some key locations against this particular team, this is a tall task, and I love Cincinnati. I love what they've done.
It's a very tall task, but I'm going to hang my hat on this last statement. I believe the reason why they'll go up is because they're rested. A lot of times the team that's rested doesn't always come out and play as though they're not rested. So I'm really hoping on the team that has carried the regular season into the playoffs and keeps it moving. will continue to do so. Numbers, all these things are very valid points until we get out there and he just goes out there and no one can cover Chase and the rest of the field starts to become open because of this. It's not that they're not a good defense. It's not that these teams aren't going out there and playing. It's literally because Burrow is that good. And I'm going to hang my hat on Burrow being that good. So I'm taking the Bengals, not because it was an easy one, but because this is more of a faith type of pick than anything else. I mean, the cards definitely, I'm not naive. The cards stack up. If you're putting money on this game, it should be the Titans.
All right, keeping it rolling. Saturday Night Football.
Give me 1 second, boys.
No problem.
San Francisco. San Francisco.
San Francisco 49ers. I was going to cut back, wait till he gets back. But, yeah, no, it was Titans being rested. It'll be interesting.
Right. I mean, the record has shown. I mean, a lot of the times Dallas had lost. They had the number one seed, and every time they had the number one seed, they got blown out. Now, this last playoff game that we just so happens to witness against a 49ers squad that apparently historically the 49ers have been beating Dallas. I can't remember if it had been the wild card game. If it had been...
But with the Titans, clearly they have rotation. They used 91 guys this year. They got the rotation depth they need. So it's
100%.
Not... If they start off slow, hey, new guy up. You're ready to go.
I don't view the Titans as being the most talented team in the playoffs, but they've done a good job of team ball. They've won in a lot of different ways. At the beginning of the season, it was primarily off the legs of Henry. Then it transferred to the defense, winning them a couple of ball games. And slowly it kind of morphed into a whole team. So I think they've grown. They've been impressive. Like, I was not high on them at the beginning of the season. And I'm extremely surprised that they won, that they got the 1 seed. Hats off to them. I got to praise Vrabel.
Yeah, because I was high on them because they, AJ Brown had a huge season last year, and then you bring in Julio Jones. I thought it was going to be a much better passing defense, and the passing team didn't show up until like week 12 or week 13. Even before Henry, even after Henry was hurt, the passing team didn't show up until way later.
They've grown as a team, and we talk about a lot of the teams like the Arizonas that suffered injuries late and other teams that have gone through it all season and stuff. And you look at it now, and lots of these teams, the Bucks, all season dealing with secondary injuries. Obviously Tennessee, we just documented all their injuries. The Rams lost Robert Woods, Cam Akers preseason. The teams that are still standing are legitly solid, well-built, well-coached, all the way around, legit teams that have gone through these things and are still ticking and have found a way to make it work and brought together that continuity, that glue to adapt. Even the Chiefs, at the beginning of the year, they couldn't be the Chiefs, and they had to learn to go on these 8 to 12 play drives and still be successful. And they figured it out, down the stretch, they figured it out. So the Bills were trying to run the ball. I mean, every team has almost a little backstory that they've grown through. And I think that's why that makes this season kind of unique to me. It hasn't been your typical your typical way seasons kind of play out. You see teams like that along, and they're usually wild card teams, kind of figured it out, gutted it out, worked with the backup quarterback somehow, and they got in the playoffs. But the top tier teams have had legit problems through the season.
Absolutely. No, great take. I absolutely 100% agree. But speaking of another one of those teams that, overcoming injuries and everything else of not knowing what they're going to do, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. Big win against Dallas last week, going up against the NFC number 1 seed and the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers.
Huge win.
They finished the second half of the season just they were down. As bad as Seattle was playing, they were right next to them in the division. Yeah. And then by the end of the season, I mean, they almost had a legit shot to win that division. They only finished a game back of both the Cardinals and the Rams.
I feel like it was that
2 big wins against the Rams too. Like
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like the Niners started to quietly morph into a different team after they beat the Rams the very first time they beat the Rams. They may have stumbled a little bit after that, but then that was it. Towards the end, they really started looking good. Jimmy G was pretty much all year, I'd argue, decent all year. I mean, he's definitely not. I mean, we knock him hard. I still don't think he's, top 5, maybe potentially top 10. But the Packers have a different story. It's literally been, is Aaron Rodgers going to be here next year? That's all it's been. I mean,
you remember that first game of the season against the Saints?
Yeah,
too?
but after that game, no one remembers that game again.
Dude ends up winning MVP. After that start, could any of us have sat there and said, "Yeah, dude can still win this MVP"?
After that
It
start,
looked
no.
terrible. It
Not
looked
after
terrible.
you probably didn't
Not
see
that
it
they
until
weren't
like
going to
week.
bounce back, but man, that was an ugly performance.
You probably didn't even see it until like week 4 or 5 because week 3 they played San Francisco. I mean, we can go back and this was a hard-fought game, and San Francisco almost pulled it off. They had a win off of Crosby's
Mason Crosby.
51-yard end of the game field goal.
Who's been struggling all year.
And he's been struggling here in the
Yes,
second
good
half of
point,
the
Eddie.
year. So if that's the case and it comes down to that, that's something the Green Bay doesn't want to rely on.
And I gotta say, you don't want to rely on trying to have to kick the ball like that at Lambeau in these bone-chilling cold scenarios. You just don't want to see it.
Baltimore wants to rely on their kicker. Nobody.
Yeah,
Serious.
Nobody.
Serious.
Unless your dude's name is Justin Tucker, ain't nobody.
Yes. That's the only guy I feel comfortable about trotting out to kick the ball if I'm any team in the NFL.
I would definitely argue to your point, though, this is a way different San Francisco 49ers team that's playing the Green Bay Packers than they did in what is that, week 4, week 5, week 3. I would argue that this is a way different 49ers team. This is more of a 49ers team that admits that Jimmy Garoppolo is our guy, at least for right now.
Yeah.
So he's the guy. There's no more of this trick nonsense.
Yeah.
Here comes this one.
Yeah, when we go to the week 3 matchup, San Francisco gave up 2 turnovers, and they only rushed for 67 yards on that game. And they lost at the end of the game field goal.
That's interesting.
28-30.
28-30. Green Bay had 4 sacks, 11 QB hits.
8 pressures.
Yep. I mean, in Green Bay's offense, they had 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. They had a 100-yard rusher. They only gave up 1 sack, and they barely won that game.
Yes, that's interesting.
And now you have a whole new San Francisco team. I think that's a very similar Green Bay team to what you're going to face, but you have a whole new San Francisco team that's healthier. They've changed a lot.
But it's the same old Jimmy G, Brady. It's that same guy is there. And he had 2 turnovers in that game. He threw a pick and he fumbled.
Yeah, but could we...
Last week with Dallas.
Could we
and he turned it over. And he tried. He did everything he could to try and get them back in the game.
No, you're 100%. You're 100% right. But I don't think that Debo ended up being the Debo that Debo is now in week 3.
I didn't even look at Debo's numbers, but I don't think they're running Debo slants and they're running Debo slants. They weren't running Debo jet sweeps. They weren't running Debo wildcats.
They weren't lining Debo up for the first carry of the running back to take. It was Debo, and he got a first down against a Dallas defense that I just thought was just psychotic, running sideline to sideline. So much talent back there, and it wasn't utilized in that game. I don't think the Green Bay Packers will approach this game in such a manner whereas we're not going to get, as much on the field talent as we have on the bench. Dallas had enormous amounts of talent across the board, and I didn't see it in that game against the 49ers. The 49ers and Nick Bosa, what you seen that first series, that first play, second play, you were like, wow, this 49ers team came to play. And I'm not saying they're not going to come and play with Green Bay, but I just don't want to see this game turn into a shootout. If you're a 49er fan, that's the number one thing you don't want.
Of course not. But again, this San Francisco's defense, they got a great pass rush.
Incredible.
you've got offensive weapons. I mean, Deebo Samuel has 150 less yards than Devontae Adams, but he has only 60% of the amount of catches. He has 77 to 123 catches.
That's
Yeah,
because
Debo's been an explosive weapon.
because he
He's
ain't
the
getting the
definition
ball.
of a weapon.
He ain't getting
And
the ball thrown
that
to
doesn't
him.
include
He's
Deebo
not
has
being.
Deebo has like 400 yards rushing too. Like,
Yeah, but it's because Jimmy can't get him the ball and everybody knows it. That's why.
hey, he's
Interesting
got
stat on Jimmy, which I
they're
wouldn't have
winning.
figured being that he played, that he was a part of the New England Patriots, but he's never thrown a pass in weather colder than 58 degrees.
Yeah,
And the
I think Jimmy.
nighttime temperature for that game on Saturday is supposed to be around 2 degrees. So if the banged up shoulder and the Jimmy G decision making wasn't bad enough, you got a quarterback. I can't remember him in college playing a cold game that wasn't part of the stat line, but in his NFL career, this is going to be a first for him. We already know Lambeau is a significant home field advantage, probably one of the top 2 or 3 in the league as far as home field advantages go. Um, that's the big thing about San Francisco that I get hung up on
Look.
because I
This
know
is
what I'm going to get out of Aaron Rodgers in that offense. Plus, they have 2,000-yard running backs on their team this year. It's a different Green Bay attack than just Aaron Rodgers spreading the ball out and you got to stop the pass. I mean, Dillon and Jones both went for over 1,000 yards off of scrimmage this year. That wasn't just
They did,
rushing
but we can
receiving.
also look back at last week. They held Dallas to 77 total rushing yards, and that they got
They
Pollard
did.
and Zeke. And I'd rather
But
take Pollard and Zeke
we
over
watched
Jones and
Dallas sputter
Dillon.
sometimes on offense. That was one of the question marks that you brought up,
Y-
um,
Yes,
in analyzing that game.
yes.
121 targets for Debo on the season. 121 targets. Only
Yep.
77 of them he caught. So it's something to think about. I mean, yeah,
Well, we seen Jimmy G
Jimmy's.
miss Ayuk by 15 yards on that
Well,
wide. He
that's
burnt Diggs,
that's
and
what I'm
it's
saying.
just
That's what I'm saying. And then
I mean
you want to
that's
take
league average, Eddie. That's just under league average, and Jimmy G is just under league average quarterback. We can agree there,
right.
but they're winning games off of that,
I'm
and they're
not
winning
not.
games off of trick plays.
Now you need to win one more game, and I don't know how far and how long you think you can keep going by handing Debo the ball back there, like as if though no one else knows that he's going to get the ball when he's back there. It's not like they're shying away from it, and now Jimmy's going to beat you deep because he can. It's just it's just something
No,
that
I agree. I
like
agree. But
regardless
again,
to the fact.
we've been saying this though for weeks. Rams couldn't do it. Dallas couldn't do it. Rams couldn't do it twice. You
No,
know,
I
they
get it.
find a way. Kyle Shanahan, they're a trick play city over there in San Francisco. They
Yeah, but
find a way.
it's not a trick though when everybody knows every time Debo's back there he's getting it. There's not a time that Debo wasn't back there that he didn't get it. I mean, that's stoppable. That's
well,
predictable.
that's where you trust in Shanahan. I think is what ultimately Brady's saying with developing a game plan to take your eyes one way and try and fool them another way, with the other talent that they have. For me, if San Francisco is going to hang in this game all the way to the end, I think Kittle's got to be a huge factor in it. I mean, hats off to Debo and everything he's done this year, but I think you guys are exactly right. You're hitting the nail on the head, Eddie, with everybody's going to be watching Debo based off of what he's done.
The Packers go up 14 points, they win this game, bro. There's no way that you want to get into a shootout with Aaron Rodgers. There's no way that anyone's going to convince me that the 49ers are going to be able to Debo their way to a win if the Packers go up on them. I mean, I just don't see a team like Aaron Rodgers being able to have his foot taken off and no pinky toe, pun intended, take his foot off the accelerator. It's just this guy is just savage of the likes we haven't seen at that position in a different way. Tom, you can't compare the two. They're different. They're just different. They're different. Tom is a complete student of the game. I'm not saying Rodgers isn't, but I mean, Rodgers is surgical as well, and I just it's tough for me. The 49ers have been playing great. They have been playing great ball, but is there how much taller could their ceiling get? How much better? I mean, you're getting Zadarius Smith back. I felt is Green Bay not getting Zadarius Smith back? I mean, these are things that matters. This guy being on the field, that's huge, Caroline. That is huge. I just got to see here what's going on, what it says here for Green Bay. I mean,
well, Green Bay's linebacking core, even minus the Darius Smith, has been very, very good. Very short
good.
tackling with Campbell.
They've been good against
Barnes,
passing
and Rashad
teams.
Gary. What's
They've
that?
been good against passing teams. They are terrible against the run. And San Francisco's a run team. Let's remember this. Green Bay gives up the most first down percentage against runs of any team in the league. They give up the most first downs. And they're the third worst team on yards per carry. They're averaging 4.7 yards per carry giving up on the run. San Francisco's a run team, and they're going to find ways to get their runners the ball.
We know that San Francisco's bread and butter and their key to success is being able to run the ball. But at some point in time, he's going to have to throw the ball. And that's a very opportunistic Green Bay secondary. We've seen Rasul Douglas make plays. We've seen the rookie Stokes make plays. The safety combination of Savage and Amos have made plays all year long as well. Ultimately for me, it comes down to Jimmy G. It just comes down to that passing offense, and can he make enough plays with his arm to keep up with the Packers? Because I think on the flip side, the Packers, as long as they can stay balanced, which they should. Bosa still hasn't cleared concussion protocol, by the way. But as long as Green Bay can stay balanced and make Jimmy G be the one that's got to keep you in the game and ultimately beat you at the end, I like Green Bay hands down. I think Green Bay wins, and they win pretty comfortably at home.
Some key additions here that are coming back for the Green Bay Packers. Zadarius Smith is one of them. Randall Cobb is also another one of them. Marquez Valdez-Scantling did not practice Wednesday. Held out of practice with the back issue. I'm sure he'll be a go in this. And also Whitney Merciless.
Well, they got Whitney now.
Is also coming off injured reserve to give some plays there. Obviously, there's still some other guys. Robert Tanya. He's on injured reserve. There's no coming back from that. Bakhtiari's questionable, but when the hell is Bakhtiari not questionable? Honestly, I mean, the past 2 seasons has been a questionable kind of season for him. But with Bakhtiari coming out, I mean, there's not even his name of all the names on Green Bay literally has absolutely nothing to say. It says he's questionable. I don't know what that means. But the fact that you're getting a handful of guys back on top of a team that was already well rested, it's going to be a tall order for just for all the reasons you say that the 49ers are banging and they're coming through on all of these points and they're on fire, ending the season good, starting off with a good one. A team that needed to be rested is rested, and now they're ready to go, and you got to come to their house to beat them. I think that 49ers game that you spoke of, the 49ers bumping with them, that was in California, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, see, the Green Bay Packers play different ball in Packers Stadium. It's a different game, and very rarely do they lose on a field goal in Lambeau. New York Giants, Lawrence Tynes, soccer kicker, came in and won the game for us. In the third coldest game in the history of the NFL. But I don't see the San Francisco 49ers trick playing their way out of this one. If I expect Green Bay to go up early and often, and I'm sorry, man. I don't. When it comes to having to stretch the field, you're telling me you're going to stretch the field from behind the line of scrimmage with a handoff is crazy to me when you have Aaron Rodgers, who is just dropping dimes everywhere. And the guy that you say isn't a good wide receiver will be playing in this game, Brady, and that is Randall Cobb.
I didn't say he was a good wide receiver. I just said the man's old and you're paying him $10 million and he spent half the year on IR.
No, it's completely right. I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, if you
Exactly
look
what
at
Aaron Rodgers wanted him to do.
exactly,
Pay him a lot of money because it's not out of his paycheck, and get me the guy I want.
and
And
that's
you
a
can see they still have the chemistry together. They
they
work
do.
well together.
He's
They
got
trust
what
each
three? He got
other.
like 3 touchdowns on the year. He earned his paycheck, I guess you could say.
Well,
You know,
I mean,
Well,
he
he's
won.
not the
He won
man.
one game for
he
him. He
he
won
had
one game for him. He caught that winning touchdown in one game.
he did, but he hasn't earned it yet because this game and maybe another game will be much more important to add to the resume of games that these two had to be on the same team together. Look, I think that Randall Cobb's not going to be the reason why they win. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, you'd be crazy to believe that if there were a way you could start in fantasy Randall Cobb this week, I still don't think you should start him. Okay, especially if you have other viable options on a ton of other teams, say Debo Samuel. But I just, you're coming into Green Bay, it's cold. I don't see Jimmy just excelling in it. And I could very well be wrong, but I'm going to take my chances and I'm going to say that if Green Bay goes up in this game, there's no 49er game to be had, bro. There's just no 40. You play man to man on the outside and you make somebody beat you. You just said the linebackers for Green Bay were really good covering the pass, that it looks like they should have no problem covering Kittle. And it's basically now you just, wherever Debo is, you cover Debo, because I mean, what else do they have if it isn't some crazy trick play, and just pray that this Green Bay team could stop the run. I mean, if you stop the run, you win this game hands down. I'm going Niners. Green Bay.
I mean, yeah, obviously if you can stop the run, because that's all the 49ers got. But again, that's not what you're good at. So, that's asking a lot of Green Bay's defense to say, hey, stop the run and you win. Like, that's asking them a lot.
What's your recipe other than obviously a strong run game? What's your recipe? How do you see San Francisco being able to win this one, Brady? If they would, not to say you're picking them, but how
No
would they have to win the
interceptions.
game in your eyes?
Absolutely no turnovers from Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, even if they get it, like, they win with him turning over. I wouldn't say he has to have zero because they win with it.
In this game, I would say zero. This isn't.
I know.
Dallas.
But he doesn't have to be. To me, he doesn't have to be spectacular. It's the fact that the 49ers have a great run game. They can get pressure on Rodgers and play a game similar to how they played the second half of the Rams, where they're just full attack mode. Because again, that's a game, right? Similar scenarios. Quarterbacks who don't want to have the lead against you, and somehow they both have a hurt toe at the same time.
Similar team makeups too.
It's similar team makeups, and here you are. You're coming back, tying the game down 3 scores, and then you win in overtime off of an interception. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Rodgers, but this is a fighting San Francisco team. They're
Very
fighters.
So.
They can get pressure when they need to. Obviously, they can run the ball and control the time of possession. The issue comes when you're facing Green Bay. They're the least penalized team in the league. Aaron Rodgers is the king of 1 minute offense. He doesn't even need the full 2 minutes.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, you don't even give the guy 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes too long. That's too long. Yeah, you gave him too long already.
Double dip on that one.
But yeah, so for San Francisco to win, they need just smart football. Even if Jimmy has a turnover or something, just play a good defense and hold that turnover to a field goal, and then just run the ball, control the clock, and go get a touchdown. So it's a 7-3 swing in your favor, even though you made a mistake. But you've wasted almost a full quarter. If you can take a 7-3 win in a quarter or two, that's a good, that's a good showing for them.
What kind of stat line do you think Jimmy G needs at the end of the day?
I mean, similar to the Dallas game. What was it? He had just over 200 yards passing last week and
no touchdown.
No.
You think that kind of game is going to beat the Packers? That amount of points? I think 24 would beat the Packers?
No, because you would need a little bit more because, again, they won because Dallas is I don't want to say bad coach, but they are a penalized heavily team. You can blame it on the coach if you want to.
Somebody's got to take the blame.
They abandoned the run, and I think Green Bay is a little bit is obviously smarter. They're a better team. And so it's going to be a tough matchup for San Francisco, but they also it's a good matchup for them. They are fat. You can praise praise Green Bay's linebackers all you want, but San Francisco's linebackers, they do it all. They do run stopping and pass pocket and pass stuffing. So, it'll be a good
Getting
game.
Greenlaw back was a nice addition. I wonder how Warner's ankle is going to be. I know he missed time late in that Dallas game with a banged up ankle.
Yes.
How healthy he's going to be, but yeah, spectacular linebacker play. I still question their secondary though.
Yeah.
Um,
Rightfully
if
so.
Dallas would have been able to get out of their own way, I thought when they scored that first touchdown to Cooper, the whole mood of the game changed. But Dallas again wasn't able to get out of their own way. Green Bay, on the other hand, I just don't see San Francisco being able to slow it down consistently as quickly as Aaron Rodgers can do his thing and as balanced as their attack's been all year. My personal prediction for it is 38-24 Packers. I know San Francisco is going to fight. They're going to do everything. You're 110% right. And they're going to be successful in some areas, but I think this is hands down, at least for this game, Green Bay should be able to control this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the likely story.
I would love.
The thing is, San Fran, you got to score 30
if
here.
you're
You got to have the mindset. We got to score at least 30. I don't care how good you run the ball and how many possessions or how much time you take away from Rodgers. Like you said, with the 1 minute offense that he's capable of doing and putting up 7 with, anytime he gets the ball in his hands, that's going to be a tough show to stop. They're going to have to keep them in like 3rd and long.
This is crazy to say. This is crazy to say. But if San Francisco wins this game, if they can get Aaron Rodgers to punt the ball like 4 or 5 times, they can win this game. But it has to be. And I'm not even saying I want a turnover. I want them to punt the friggin' ball. Give San Francisco the ball back. If they can come out and at least the first series make Green Bay punt the ball, then everything that Brady said about them running the ball and doing all of that, I have a lot more faith in. But if Green Bay goes up 14 and San Francisco plays from behind the whole game, this ain't Dallas. I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it.
San Francisco needs
Not
to
too
limit
many
the
teams are going to
touchdowns.
come from 14 back and have a legit shot at coming back too. I mean, that's 2 touchdowns, 2 scores is, maybe Kansas City territory, maybe Buffalo territory. But besides those 2 teams, and maybe Aaron Rodgers territory, but besides that, none of these other teams are really built to do that consistently.
And if you can't get the Green Bay Packers to punt the ball 4 or 5 times, then I want Davante Adams to have 8 catches. I want you to have quadruple, because who make Green Bay beat you and Aaron Rodgers beat you with someone else. Completely take Davante Adams out of this game and you win.
We talk about that every week, though.
I believe you win.
Yep.
We talk about taking Davante Adams and making him look elsewhere all the time. But Rodgers has proven he can do it. I mean, whether it's Scantling or
Lazard.
Scantling's chipped up. Robert Tanya's done for the year. I watched the Raiders 3 guys to try and stop Davante Adams, and he still caught a touchdown pass. So I say this as a grain of salt. San Fran, if there is a will and a way that you could figure out how to nullify everything that Davante Adams can do for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, I think you have way more of a legitimate chance than you do by just running the ball. I believe.
All right. All Packers across the board.
It'll be
a good game, though.
It's hard not to.
But I think it'll be a good matchup and tough, because if it is a cold weather game and you get a, Patriots versus Bills in the snow situation, I think I'd take 49ers.
Anything could happen.
I would take
anything could happen in that one.
Keeping it going though, let's going to the Sunday football. 3:00. A little bit of different schedule here on Sunday. You got the Los Angeles Rams coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay looking to revenge their Week 3 loss to the Rams, and both teams had some pretty impressive, single-handed victories in their last week in the wild card.
Talk to
what
me,
was your guys'?
Brady, about what you feel like the Bucks need to do to beat this Rams team this time around.
I mean, the Bucks always play. I won't say the Bucks, but I'll say the new Bucks because I can't say the Bucks, but the new Bucks play teams much better the second time they face them. KC, easy example, right?
Wow.
Todd Bowles, because I thought last week was going to be a tough matchup for Philly, but Todd Bowles is a supermind genius when it comes to postseason defense scheming.
He definitely needs a head coaching shot.
Because they held Philly to terrible running numbers, and they were great run team. Not to mention that they led the league in extended plays, where plays lasted longer than 5 seconds. They led the league.
Wow.
And so what Todd Bowles did is he said, linebackers, wait a second and a half until you blitz. Wait till Jalen Hurts makes his first move before you run. And so then wait the D tackles and the D ends get in their positions, and then the linebacker would blitz, and it would create chaos for him. And then Jalen Hurts is throwing the ball out of bounds constantly, or missing his dump plays, overthrowing everybody because he's throwing off of his left foot, and so Todd Bowles coming up with a scheme for the Rams. I guess to me the scheme would be safety over top of OBJ and just zone coverage Cooper, because you have the fast linebackers that can adjust to the ball when Cooper thinks he can find that opening. If you got Levante David and Devin White to realize, hey, nope, that's coming this way, to my right, to my left, and just slide over. And then obviously it's the pressure, getting in Stafford's face.
We've seen that be a big deal for Stafford.
He's got a toe injury going on right now that he says isn't bothering him, but 49ers put it to him, and he leads the league in turnovers this year, and they figured out they got him 2 turnovers there in the last half and overtime, and that's all off of Nick Bosa and that pass pressure. And I think you can match that.
The Bucks offense should attack this Rams defense?
Getting rid of the ball fast, because your offensive line is banged up. Tristan Wirfs, was walking around.
Not really the Bucks' forte, though. I mean, for a whole game plan.
For the whole game plan, no. The Eagles game, another one. That scheme. Yeah. Tom Brady had the fastest time to pass at just over 2 seconds. Quick, and it was like the average. It was a lot of it, and when it needed to, Mike Evans was open for a 30-yard bomb, and doing nice things, but
I think we can all agree it's not going to be quite that easy. It won't be defense, though.
It won't be quite as easy, but I do think it needs to be smarter, because there was a lot of times. I mean, Tom Brady made some incredible throws, but there was a lot of times where if that football was 6 inches shorter, it was a pick six. There was probably 3 passes last week where I'm in my seat going, no, and it's 6 inches.
Tom's had his struggles with the INT bug a couple of times this season too.
Yeah, I'll take Tom Brady's bug though versus Matt Stafford. 7.
Interesting stat. The last time these two faced off, neither quarterback threw an interception.
Nope, but Stafford threw 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah,
that's true.
Turnovers weren't the difference in the game.
We were banged up in the secondary. Murphy Bunting was out. I believe Winfield Jr. was out that game too, and I think Dean or Davis got hurt in that game as well. I think it was Dean got a concussion real early, and so they were just beating up on us in the secondary. And now we're getting healthier, and we found our rotation guys to get in that could step in when need be. So you're not going to face that same secondary that he threw for, I think, 400 yards against us. Yeah, or no, Brady threw for just over 400 yards, but only had 1 touchdown pass. But the Bucks definitely need to get pressure. They only had 1 sack on him last time. They need to get pressure on him, get some sacks, get in his face. Stafford, can't let him get over his playoff butterflies, right? That was his first playoff win in 189 starts or something like that.
Keeping Stafford off balance is big key. I agree. I think attacking.
I'm not too worried about Cam Akers and their run game. I mean, they're great, but he only had 55 yards running. He had 1 40-yard catch from Odell Beckham. And don't get me wrong, trick plays do, worry me with the Bucs. There's, we're about 50-50, I'd say, on either it works against us or, we break it up and we stop them on 4th down. So we'll see how
Definitely
it
been
goes.
susceptible against the pass all year long. That's a fact. But you got to have time to be able to do that. What are you looking at in this one, Eddie?
I'm looking at, as crazy as this is going to sound coming from me, I'm looking at the trenches on this one. It's going to be huge, Caroline. But I'm seeing one notable name here that's really just jumping off at me. And I noticed that he didn't finish the rest of that game for the Los Angeles Rams. And maybe rightfully so, he didn't have to. But an aging Andrew Whitworth is their anchor. It's almost like the guy they got on a Tennessee Titans that got hurt and carted off. I can't remember his name right now, but he's a huge part of their offensive line.
Oldest player in the league, I think.
Yeah.
Besides Tom Brady is Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah, he's 40 or 42, yeah.
And Andrew Whitworth is a big deal. To me,
day to day.
To me,
he's day to day.
That's a big deal for me. And the Bucks can very well exploit this with some stunts, with some things of that nature, where a stunt would be where the defensive end swaps the angle and goes in a different direction with the D tackle. I see that being something that could be very beneficial.
It works well when they do it with Vea because he's big enough where he can push whoever's blocking him into the dude next to him, and then the D end has a free shot. That's how a lot of their sacks have come this year.
I almost seen Vita Vea over 300 pounds chase somebody down from behind. I would not have wanted to be that person. In that Eagles game, I literally watched him almost. He didn't. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he stuck his arm out and the guy wasn't that far away, to me is just mind-bogglingly impressive when you see a normal 300-pounder outside the field there. You're like, there's no way this dude's chasing me down. Never say that to Vita Vea because the average person will not be able to run away from that dude. I'm telling you right now. But I was thinking about that. I was thinking about Andrew Whitworth being something that ends up potentially being, I'm not saying an Achilles heel, but something that definitely could allow the Bucks to get in where they fit in and try it with this D line that the Bucks have, which is a very athletic defensive line. Pierre-Paul doesn't know how many
Bucks
games.
Are a lot healthier this time around too.
And Pierre-Paul doesn't know how many more games he's going to have left. I think he's 10 or 12 years in the league. It's quite an impressive resume that he has, and won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. It's very impressive. He's definitely a guy the Giants should have never gotten rid of, but they did, and here we are, and we're talking about it. Run some stunts on these offensive linemen, but also to be said about the same thing, man. If Tristan Wirfs can't go, and they have this guy Wells, I don't know his last name.
Yeah, Josh Wells.
He was banged up last week too.
I don't like it. He went out there, he did okay, and then all of a sudden something happened.
That was a good game. That was a good game for him to go out there too, because their starting DN Sweat wasn't in the game, so he was going up against a backup defensive end pushing into him. So Wirfs going out,
blown over.
Wirfs tried to come back in, didn't work out. The dude got a sack on Brady, and so Wirfs went out, and then Josh Wells went in, and he played decently well. They just needed their tight ends to give a chip block before they did anything, and it worked.
Yeah,
they didn't get much on him.
It very
but again,
well
this
could
Rams
be,
D line is much better than the Philadelphia.
And listen, if there's anyone in the trenches for the Rams to know what it's like to get chipped, I know a guy. It's 99. His name is Aaron Donald.
Yeah. You can almost guarantee there's going to be a fight between Aaron Donald and Ryan Jensen in this game.
If that was
gets
a bet,
into it with everybody.
If that was a bet, though, I would take that bet. That's definitely going to happen. I'm definitely seeing it happen. This is
I'm sure it's on the Vegas card somewhere at like minus 9,000 odds or something like that.
Gotta be.
Jensen and Aaron Donald try hitting each other, and it's going to be like minus 9,000 or something.
Keys to success here. You got to stop Beckham. You got to stop Cam, and you just hope that they don't get to Brady. Down in and down out.
The Bucks.
Do you feel differently about Beckham on the Rams now? Because midway through the season and the previous 2-3 years of Beckham's career, is there any difference now with Beckham? Obviously, he's been healthy the whole time, which is one glaring difference. But doesn't he appear to be more of a weapon now that he's on the Rams team? And did he change that much? Did he totally
it's a different
redo?
System. You're talking a passing offense versus a running offense, right?
Sure.
If you're saying, why did he not get enough? That's just not who Cleveland is, and that's who the Rams are, right? They run for just under 100.
I'm talking about Beckham as a player, though.
I know, but I'm saying I'm saying the reason he's succeeding or looking better is because of the offensive scheme he's in. Not to mention the fact that Robert Woods went out, and so now he's a true number 2 to Cooper Kupp, who's getting.
Are you saying coverage. It's kind of just a plug-in? If any guy could be looking like Beckham right now?
No, you'd have to have a certain degree of talent, but I think a lot of wide receivers would succeed there. I'm not saying he doesn't succeed anywhere else he goes, but I'm saying he's succeeding because of the system he's in.
It's definitely helped his cause, right? It's definitely helped. Moving forward, though, I don't know. Can he be Robert Woods? Can he go out there and block? I mean, so you're really not seeing Beckham do more than.
Well, the only reason I brought it up, Eddie, is because the first thing you said was watch out for Beckham. And the first thing that Brady said when he started his talk was putting a safety over Beckham. And I just, to be the first guy on both of you guys' page, it caught my attention because I didn't think either one of you would go in that direction. I might even not mention him at all.
But I think
personally,
back to week
because
3,
he's just a guy, any guy could be in that position because I guess if you plug Van Jefferson into the same role, he's having the same kind of success is kind of what I'm hearing from Brady on that. That's just why I posed the question, because it was eye-popping to me to hear both of y'all start the offensive strategy with Beckham.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Well, it's because that's his position. That's his job right now. He's the deep ball threat. It's gone away from Woods. It's gone away from Van Jefferson, and they traded Deshaun Jackson. Because I was going to say, when I think back to week 3, Deshaun
Jefferson's gotten loose a couple of times too.
He has. But I was saying, but back to week 3, Deshaun Jackson had two or three. He was 3 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown against the Bucs. So that's what I'm
makes
saying.
sense. Given
we need
the
to have a safety over. We need to have a safety over top of their deep guy. Right now, Odell Beckham is their outside deep guy. That's what I was saying when I was saying that.
He's been more effective in the short red zone here over the past 3 games, though. He's caught, those inside the 10 that were kind of primarily all dominated by Cooper Kupp. He's caught those touchdowns. I think personally, I was surprised because I was not too impressed with where his career was trending. And I thought that being in the Ram system would definitely restore some of that luster, but he's looked very, very good to me. Very good. And I don't necessarily all the way agree with you to where you could just plug in another guy with some talent and he would be delivering what Beckham is starting to deliver for the Rams. And then, moving forward, who knows? Because Robert Woods is a staple to that offense. And I thought when he went down, he meant so much to the Rams. And we kind of saw their offense squander for, what they didn't win in the month of November. Detroit had a better winning percentage in the month of November than the Rams did. So he mattered tremendously. But I think Beckham has become a nice second fiddle to Cooper Kupp. They balanced each other out quite nicely, personally. For me, for the Rams, I think you got to keep Tampa honest. I think you Similar to the game we talked about with Cincinnati, I think even if the run is not working, you still need to mix it in to protect Stafford. Um, I think you got to protect, if you're the Rams defense, the weakest part of that defense to me is right up the middle. Not on the D line, but the linebackers. Um, I think they should try to attack with Gronk and Fournette and Geo. I don't agree with your quick passing theory, only because there's so much team speed on the Rams and they're so reactory and so long with Leonard Floyd on the line that I would hate to see batted balls from Brady. I would hate to see, some situations to where Jalen Ramsey is that close to the line of scrimmage at times because they're probably going to keep him all over the place to keep the Bucks kind of guessing and try to make it life as hard on Brady as possible. I really think that they should stick with what they do best, pushing the ball down the field. But I really want to see him try and be a little bully with it. I hope Fournette is a at least 75% go, and they try to run the ball at the Rams because we've seen the teams that have run it at the Rams and just really tried to power them and smack them in the mouth have been successful against the Rams, i.e., San Francisco.
Yes.
Um, Also with the Titans, even though they were missing Henry at that point in time, they still were able to attack towards the middle of the football field running the ball.
Yeah, that was one of my
So
keys was to not abandon the run because when they faced in week 3, Tampa had 35 yards rushing that whole game. And once, and that kind of falls a little bit on the young offensive coaching of Byron Leftwich and, Tom Brady being the frustrated, I'm the best,
yeah,
mindset
I can do it.
where like I can do it, we can do it. And so that was another thing. I don't want them to abandon the run, even if they go down 2 scores, because they're a better defense than the Jets, and you're not going to be able to throw it down when you're down 2 scores like they did against the Jets. You're going to need to run the ball, similar to what you were saying, and that was a big one for me. But the reason I was saying the quick passes is because fast defense, you got to do something different, I think, because fast defenses have Brady's number. The Rams, both Saints games. So that's what I was thinking. If you can get rid of it faster, you don't need to worry about the D end, Cameron Jordan or Malcolm Floyd. I know Cameron Jordan Saints, but coming
See
by
what you're
because
saying.
they're still worried about getting into position, getting past their tackle to bat the ball. But if the ball's already gone before they're there, that's where I think it would benefit them.
Yeah, I don't like the scenarios because we've seen on numerous occasions this year, um, hands for Fournette being iffy at times, and one crucial through the hands type of turnover. We saw it the first game of the season against Dallas. I believe it happened to him again, or Ronald Jones later in the year. Um, and with the speed and the playmakers that they have in that secondary and the athleticism that they have on the defensive line, I just see that would possibly be problematic for the Bucks if that was a primary focus. But for me, like big major key, which Mike Evans shows up because he's going to be going up against. He's probably not going to get a lot of Jalen Ramsey because they don't really just focus him on one person. He's going to get small guys. He's going to get Williams. He's going to get Deaton. Both of these guys are 5'9". He needs to be a beast in this game, in my opinion,
It'd be nice.
because
It'd be nice again because he had a big game against Philly, and I'd love to
and
argue with
being
Nick,
consistent. I think
who
he's had one of the better years that I've seen him in his career, as far as consistently catching the ball and consistently making plays every single game. Obviously,
he's
he's had a
definitely
great
gotten
career so far.
he's definitely gotten a lot better with Tom Brady. The biggest knock on him is his drops, and I think he only has 2, maybe
Yeah,
3 on the year,
and
which
those
is
were early.
huge. And those were early, and that's huge for him. Hats off. But I think and you can put that a lot of shoulders on the quarterback situation. It's the gunslinger Winston versus Tom Brady.
Well, no, I'm
But yeah,
just talking about period in his
yes,
career. He's a fiery dude, and the Rams are probably going to be in his ear. I just hope. I want to see Mike have a really good game here. I think if Mike
yeah.
Evans has a
I
really
was gonna,
good
I was gonna
game,
say I would love to have if Nick was here because he was wanted to chime in about how Darius Slay had shut him down there week 6 or 7 when Philly faced him. I was like, where was Darius Slay all game last week? Because that
no,
dude
he
got
wouldn't have wanted to
eaten
talk to
up.
you after last week.
No,
Absolutely.
Just for a little bit, just a little bit more to slap this cherry on top with a little bit of Jimmy's on it. Just so we're clear, okay? Which you got to take this in accountability. Tristan Wirfs is in a walking boot, so I mean it's really it's not just he's a little swollen. It's really serious, and it's so serious that they're taking as much precaution as possible by putting this foot in a boot. Man, I don't like this. I'm going Rams. I'm going Rams here, and I'm not going Rams because I don't think Brady can do it. I'm going Rams because not only is Tristan Wirfs in a boot and didn't practice in this legitimately game time decision. Jones' ankle didn't partake in Wednesday's practice. Not that not practicing is like end all be all, but every single starting running back is hurt, and the one that concerns me the most is the one they need the most of all, which is Leonard Fournette. And again, the words are take a wait and see approach. That's not good. That means it's a game time decision with Tristan Wirfs. And if there was anything that the Bucs could have gotten at injured reserve here, I'm looking at, I would legitimately trade Levante David. Let's just say for whatever reason we could make one player on this depth chart completely healthy. I would say it has to be Leonard Fournette. I mean, Tristan Wirfs matters so much, right, too, in the trenches. It matters so much, but the fact that there's not one healthy running back, and literally Giovanni Bernard with the hip/knee is also limited in participation, meaning, bro, one hit on the first time he touches the ball, catches a pass out of the backfield, that's the last time you see him on the field. That's what that tells me.
That was a similar situation last week, though, when he still got 13 carries for 44 yards. I liked what they did last week. They found ways to get their runners going. Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah, they look nice. Gio looked real nice.
It up. It was almost a 50-50 between Gio and Keyshawn Vaughn. And Keyshawn Vaughn early was going out there just hitting the holes, and he had that first drive, I think 4 different 8-yard runs in that first drive.
He looked good.
They're going to need a lot more.
Gio looked like the old Gio.
They're going to need a lot more than just a couple 8-yard runs from him in this game. This is going to have to be his biggest game of his career in order for me to believe that the Bucs are going to come out victorious on this one. There's just too much that is forcing me. If I'm Rams right now, dude, go ahead, beat me with the run, dude. I'm dropping everybody back. Beat me with the run. I want Vaughn to beat me. Come beat me with Vaughn. You know what I'm saying? It's because who do they really have? And I mean, the fact that the one edge, I just don't like how bad Tristan Wirfs is. Tristan Wirfs seems to be, and you got Leonard Fournette on injured reserve. It literally looks as though it says Tristan Wirfs is questionable, but that's a straight bold lie. That's not. Not the
just because he tried going back in last week, and the fact that he tried going back in, I think gives more credit, and they're just taking it softly and saying,
that's not what I seen on the field. I watched him play on the field. I watched it when he got injured. I watched when he came back out, and I'm telling you, the only thing he could do was pick the foot up. That was it.
I agree. He had trouble blocking when he went back in, but the fact that he still felt like he was okay to do it just means, in his mindset, means he's going to go out there and try, and it might give him some trouble. But again, you can't sit there and tell me that the 3 big tight ends the Bucs have can't give him help.
I think that hurts your passing game, though. I agree with chipping and keeping tight ends in, but I think that hurts your passing game because
that's Gronk's bread and butter is chipping and rolling out for a pass. That's his bread and butter.
Yeah, but he's gonna have to do more than just chip the likes. I think you throw both the Arizona game out for the Rams, and I think you throw the Philly game out for the Bucs too. This is gonna be a much different animal for both sides. Both sides. I think you forget that those games ever even happened if you're both of those teams, and you focus on what you got in front of us. And we saw, when they played in week 3, the talent level is just all over the board for both of these teams. I think the Bucs, if Mike Evans doesn't have one hell of a game, I think they're really going to feel not having Godwin this game. I think they're really going to feel not having AB this game. I think this is the game.
Could this be a
but on the other
Scotty
side,
Miller game? Could this be a Scotty Miller game, bro? Could this be a type
I don't
of?
know. They're not.
not
They're
really
not
his
using him.
forte though,
I was like, they're not using
slot
him.
wise.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. If the team has lost confidence, him and his turf toe and whatever it is. But he's a punt gunner now. That's his job, and he comes in and he fills in for wide receiver when we need it.
Wow.
But he's a punt gunner right now.
Well, you fucking need it.
And all power to it. He caused that.
Reed's boy.
He caused that punt fumble there against Philly there at the second half of the game.
I seen that. Yep, I seen. What did he cause it or did he recover it? He caused it. He caused it. Yeah, he caused it.
The dude muffed the punt, and Scotty hit him like a half second within him touching the ball. Like it was perfect. Couldn't have gone much better.
Off his tips of his hands. Yeah.
No, I was watching that. That was I just it's just a tall task right now. And you know what? The 49ers, I mean the Rams really look really good right now. I just wish that there were a way, the Bucks didn't have to play that last game and they could have had the first round bye and it would have been sitting and Tristan didn't get hurt like this and everything stays the same, then I feel better. I feel way better. I feel 10 times better. It's this Tristan Wars thing. Like, after I watched that happen, I go, oh no, they're the fucking Kansas City Chiefs now. They're not going to be able to stop nobody on the edge. And you're telling me to chip, bro, but I don't know, man. When you got to get out there and you need some yards, man, a chip is just a second, maybe two. I don't know, man. I'm not in.
It's a lot of time for Tom Brady. It's a lot of time for any QB. I'm not in.
I'm not in. I think
it's gonna put more pressure on the Bucks defense to perform almost perfectly on the other side of the ball. My final for this one's 28-24 Rams. I could easily see it being 28-24 for the Bucks as well, though. I really am totally up in the air with this because I agree with you on a lot of the points that you make, Brady. And I look at the game, and like I said, I can see significant mismatches for the Bucks, both on offense and defense. But I gotta agree with Eddie in the same sense that it's going to be very difficult for this Bucks offense. This is going to be one of the steepest challenges they faced, even harder than the first Rams game, because you guys were 100% for the first Rams game.
Yeah, there's no Tristan
on offense, not defense, and that's where they beat us. That's where they beat us. We did well on offense.
Well, Tom couldn't cash in the red zone either. He threw one touchdown pass.
He did. I mean, just over 400 yards. You're better learning.
Godwin had loads of yards. Godwin had 150 that game. But
again, I agree.
They
need to
score.
Out. But you got to remember now that you mentioned their smaller wide corners, and now both of their safeties are probably out. So you might even see Weedle coming out of retirement to step on the football field for the first time.
He played last game.
Yeah, he played last game.
He was on the field. Yeah. He was on the field last game.
So yeah,
not a lot of reps though. But.
Yeah, so now he might be the only safety, going there.
Oh, again, that's why I said with the short passing game that I didn't like it. I think the Bucks should continue their deep passing game, but it got to preface it. They're going to have to figure out how to run the ball, and they're going to have to just be bully so that they can get to that play action. That chip works a little bit better when you've ripped off a couple of nice runs. You get a little bit extra time. And then, yes, Mike Evans, I feel like Gronkowski down the middle, like that's where it's going to have to happen for the Bucks. They're going to have to be that early Bucks team that was very big play oriented in order to beat the Rams. And I think they can do it. I think they can. Like I said, this is, for me, total 50-50 game because I think there's strengths and weaknesses. I'm not sold on Stafford. I want to see how he ends up performing this game, especially against a very fast, very talented, very strong front seven for the Bucks.
Not for nothing. Josh Wells is also questionable.
I think this one is going to be the most fun game to watch. I think it's going to be the most competitive from start to finish. I don't think anybody's really going to get up on each other. I think this is just going to be a slap, back and forth, just haymakers and drives and, a couple of
Yeah.
turnovers here and there for both sides.
No,
That
I,
Russian slapping game.
It's going to be a fun one.
Slap till someone quits.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think that this game is going to solidify the word trenches on this podcast and how important it is and how important an offensive lineman and how important a defensive lineman is. I think we're really super downplaying the fact that Tristan Wirfs is walking around in a boot right now. That is huge to me, considering how dominant of a defensive line the Rams have, and no one's walking around with a boot over there. And whatever I seen out of that Josh Wells is just not it. Not it. I mean, if they got an offensive lineman that hasn't played on that side in the tackle position, and they got him and he's going to be able to produce, then I could see this game going in a direction Charlie is saying, where it could turn into a blow for blow. But the fact that Tristan Wirfs is walking in a boot, his backup is hurt, and there's no running back on the roster besides Vaughn who's not hurt, that speaks volumes. You're literally telling me that you're going to see the Bucks stay well-rounded in this game? It's just tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a really tough game for them to win healthy. They're not healthy. It's just I think it's too tall of a task. I got to go Rams on this one. I don't want to go against you, Brady. I was the one telling you, Brady. I was the one telling you, standing there in the dungeon, this is it. I'm telling you. All right? And that hurt my heart seeing Tristan go down, man. I know you're thinking that this isn't as big, man, but the boot, they ain't saying that about Josh Wells. They ain't saying, I'm just saying this is significant.
I know, but from what you're saying, though, you could have said we were done last year when we lost Ali Marpet. And Aaron Stiney stepped in and didn't allow anyone to touch Tom Brady.
I just didn't see that from Wells, though. That's what I'm saying.
I know, but if you know Wells, it's different. It's different when you fill in versus when you are now the starter, right? I'm not saying. I think Tristan.
Yeah, he will have a week of practice under his belt, and they'll have a week to prepare.
And they're going to have to. They're going to change the game plan. I just think that this coaching staff, Todd Bowles on defense and Bruce Arians on offense, are smart enough to find ways to overcome these obstacles, right? We have runners, despite the fact that Keyshawn Vaughn, your third-round draft pick from 2 years ago, is your starting running back. We find ways to make it still be a high-power passing offense when your only receiver left is Mike Evans and the other dudes are journeymen, right?
I agree. I agree.
Cyril Grayson's a track star who's been a practice squad guy on 8 teams. Bashard Perriman's played for 7 teams.
Yeah, but they're all injured, though. They're all chipped up. Every guy you just named.
And they've all been injured, and they're still out there catching passes.
I know, but you're not getting that from the Rams, is what I'm saying. I'm saying
Tom Brady completed to 9 different receivers in the first half against the Eagles. It don't matter. He's going to find a way to throw the ball, whoever's banged up or not banged up.
Well, I mean, if you go back and you watch, the moment Tristan came out, they started sacking Brady in that game. And I just think that this D-line, in the situation that's going to be presented with Von Miller and everybody on there, you got a bunch of wolves on that D-line, and they're going to attack that. They're going to embrace that. They know that. They know what's at stake. They know they already beat this team. I mean, they know they got to get back there, and what easier way to get back there than for it to be on that side? I mean, now you slow down a Gronkowski who's already fucking slow enough as it is. Let's be real, okay? Gronkowski is slow as dirt. I'm not saying that he still doesn't get open. That's not what I'm saying. But you're slowing down a guy who's already slow. You're right, though. If there is a team and a coaching staff that's capable of rising to the occasion of this one with the injuries and what everybody's going to be saying about this, I mean, if ESPN and NFL Network is not talking about the fact that Tristan Wirfs is walking in a boot, then I don't know what there is to even talk about in this game. Because this is a game where the Bucks were chipped up. They got beat up from this Rams defense and this Rams offense the last time around. I just think healthy Rams, it was a tall task then. What do you call it now when everybody I named is injured? The only one you got is Mike Evans. I mean, you know what? This is a very good time to bring up John Brown. I mean, let's face it, right?
I know, but you're bringing up these injuries, and the offense isn't our problem, right? Their success in week 3 was our defense was beat up, and our secondary was gone.
Yeah,
Our secondary's back now,
so
it's going to be harder for their offense.
And your offense isn't healthy. It might be, but your offense is not healthy.
It might be a little bit harder. It might be a little bit harder for our offense.
It's not might. It will be. It's not might. It will be.
You say this, but I can show you. You want me to show you last year's tape? Because I'll show you last year's tape.
Show me last year's tape without Tristan Wirfs.
I'll show you last year's tape without Ali Marpet. They're similarly graded in their second and third years.
Similarly,
it's tough because the Bucs are only 3 weeks removed to, playing the Jets, and the Jets were moving the ball pretty easily on them too. They haven't faced very good competition here down the road. I know Philly was supposed to give them a challenge. I thought they were going to give them a challenge. Don't get me wrong. It's the first time I really sided with Philly this year. And of course, they wet the bed like they did. But, they finished up against the Panthers, twice? The Jets once. Obviously, they beat Buffalo before that. And then you get the Eagles game, which, again, to me, you just got to throw that one out on both sides, Cardinals included. Eddie's right on the offensive side with everything he says, but I think you're not giving enough credit on the other side of the ball with the Rams. Although they're semi-healthy on the offensive line, it is not a good offensive line. We saw evidence of that against San Francisco repeatedly, which San Francisco's front line is very comparable to what the Bucs bring to the table. Linebacker, front seven for front seven. You could, make an argument that those are one and the same. So I think it's going to be tough for both teams. I think both teams have very unique challenges to overcome in this game, and I'm interested to see, who comes out on top, because it's 2 good coaching staffs. It's 2 really good teams. These are 2 upper echelon, deserve to go to the Super Bowl representing the NFC type of teams.
Oh yeah,
they're the only 2 teams left that I feel like can beat Green Bay as well. So,
this is why we turn to television. This is the time of year we've been waiting for. I mean, this is it. This is why we sit down and we waste our Sundays and we waste our Monday nights and we waste our Thursday nights. This is why. This is it. I mean, if there's any 2 teams that could stand up and say, "Look, man, I'm going to be the one. We're not done yet." It's these 2 teams for sure. I mean, you don't walk into this game talking about the injuries if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Rams. I'm trying to be an analyst and I'm trying to stand back from the overall view and look at this.
Right.
I just see this being such a thorn in the Bucs' side, while at the same time, the guys that we were talking about are old and not doing anything are really starting to do some things in a time where this team needed it most. Odell Beckham, Von Miller. I just think the edge, I'm just going to edge it out. I mean, I talked about Andrew Whitworth going down. That's a huge issue, But, I mean, Cam's healthy, and they still got Henderson, and they still got Sonny. I mean, and it's like they're not as injured
Agreed.
I'm just saying that it's really jumping off the page at me, the things that the Bucs have to overcome as opposed to what the Rams have to overcome. And Brady's right, this secondary of the Bucs being healthy could very well be what it is that you're going to need in order to be successful. 100%. I mean, this is that time of year, and this is what the Bucs will need to win this game, 100%. And the fact that the whole secondary is for the most part going to be healthy and on the field, and Levante David coming back, and potentially, if not playing in this game, if they move forward, he's definitely playing in the next. I just the Leonard Floyd thing, that, you know, playoff Lenny, that's just a huge blow. And then on top of that, you're like, let's just make one more problem for the Bucks and say, yeah, Tristan Wirfs, game time decision. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he starts and then you never see him again because he tried. Just like he tried to get back on the field when, I guess, in Brady's defense, the Bucks defense, it didn't matter if he came back. The way the Bucks were playing against that team in the trenches and everything Brady was doing, it didn't matter. And it was rightfully so. They won that game, and they just kept scoring after Tristan Wirfs went down. I don't know the numbers, but in that game, it didn't matter. But obviously, you can see and hear my concern going up against the Rams, which it's hard for me to overlook.
You rarely take that strong of takes on games that we do.
It's hard for me to overlook.
Unless it's a Giants game. But yeah, you had one last week as well, and that was the Kansas City Pittsburgh one because I was making a case for Pittsburgh. So
it's just very concerning. That's all.
It goes up on my radar that you feel as strongly about that as well.
Because he's their best offensive lineman, period, in my opinion.
You're right.
In my opinion.
Absolutely.
That's their best offensive lineman. And, you know, I mean, if I can turn around.
But so is Whitworth, and you're not making damn near his case as
No, but I mean, you know, it's a 40-year-old guy, and it's a 42-year-old guy. No, I'm not saying he's not, but I'm saying that the guy that's plugging in behind Whitworth isn't also too injured. That's all I'm saying. It's like it's just happening at a very bad time for the Bucks, and I can't pick them this week. I can't pick them because I can't see past Tristan Wirfs and Wells being effective. And that's huge.
Let's keep it moving.
That's huge.
Yeah, we're chasing our own tails, going in circles here. But all right, keeping it going.
The last game.
You got the Buffalo Bills going into the Kansas City Chiefs.
The last game.
Both teams had some, you know, single-handed victories again last week. Bills had their, you know, rivalry taking over the NFC or AFC North there, or no, AFC East. I'm sorry, saying this is our division now. You know, sorry Patriots. And the Chiefs, you know, they still said, hey, I don't care what your defense is and what, you know.
I wasn't no sorry about that loss.
You know, no, I mean, they were steamrolling, ready to go. I mean, we got a week 5 rematch where Buffalo took it 38-20. And you can even look back at last year's AFC Championship where Kansas City took it 38-24. These dudes are battling neck and neck.
Common theme. It was all in Kansas City, too. Yep. I thought that was a huge early season win for the Bills to go into KC and do what they did.
Yeah, and 38-20, it was worse than that because I think KC scored like a last-second touchdown late in the game, like because KC had 4 turnovers in that game, 2 interceptions. And
KC was struggling at that point in the season. That's when they hit the skids for the 3 and the 4 start. Man, for me, when I was doing this game and I was writing down my stuff, the thing that popped out to me at the end of it was, although Kansas City is a 3-point favorite, by the time I got done writing, more things have to go right in my eyes for Kansas City to win than Buffalo. I feel like Buffalo should be favored in this game. I mean, my keys for Kansas City, you gotta hit Allen as much as you can, and I think you got to keep a spy on him. That sucks for the rest of the secondary, which is pretty good. But there's a lot of talent on Buffalo. I said it last week, and I feel like
if Buffalo can keep doing what they've been doing with Devin Singletary, then it'll be a tough game for KC because he's changed that offense in these last 4 weeks. He's changed it single-handedly. That one piece changed it. Once the Bucks beat the crap out of them because they said, you're not running against us, I don't care, I'm going to blitz you 79% of the game or whatever it was.
Well, they beat the crap out of them in the first half. and then they didn't score the second half. And I know it wasn't because Tom Brady took a knee and said, "All right, we did a good enough job," because that's
No,
not Tom Brady's style. He played the
no.
complete Philadelphia game.
I'm just saying the way the defense handled it in the fact that you had no run game. They changed
Oh
after
yeah,
that game. After
yeah,
that game happened, they said no, we're getting a run game,
yeah.
and it's
Well,
worked
we
out
talked about
tremendously
it at
for
the
them.
beginning of the season with the Rams and the Bills. They ultimately, when it became this time, they were going to have to be able to run the ball. And that's why we're now optimistic back on board with both the Rams and the Bills, is because we've seen the run game here recently.
Hmm.
But again, to double down on what you just said, you got to make the Bills one dimensional, and you got to frustrate Allen. We saw
Hmm.
Pittsburgh do it early in the year. We saw the Bucks do it the first half of that game. We've seen, many a times, even what happened with the first game with the Patriots, where Allen was frustrated that he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. Um, they gotta convert those. My biggest key to this game, though, and what happened with the last game, and where I feel like Buffalo ultimately has the best advantage in this game, is KC was unable to capitalize inside the red zone by scoring touchdowns. And I think that is a testament to how much talent is really on Buffalo's defense. Um, KC hangs their hat on those trick plays, getting inside the 10, and they just make it look so easy. Um, and you figure when they get inside the red zone, they're going to score touchdowns, and that's just the way it's going to be. But they're going to have to score touchdowns here, and that's usually what you say about a team that's facing Kansas City. And I catch myself now saying that as the recipe for Kansas City to end up winning this game.
Yeah,
Um,
for me, for Buffalo, the main thing I want to see from Buffalo outside of like the run game from Singletary is the key moments on defense. When it's third and long, you can't let Mahomes be Mahomes. And when it's fourth down and they're going for it, you got to stuff it. Because the Patriots, despite getting their butts whooped, were 4 for 4 on fourth down. And
mhm.
KC is a better offense. So if you allow that to happen, you allow that
Buffalo
drive
was
to
first and third
continue
down
on.
percentage on defense, though.
Yeah, they were. I mean,
KC
it was
was
good.
19th.
Yes, but again, that's what I'm saying. But if it's Casey's third and long, and you let Mahomes be Mahomes, get that Travis Kelce on the edge, and then when it
Mhm.
comes down, if they can extend that, you allow Kansas City and Mahomes to extend, get a fourth, convert on fourth down. It'll be a tough that's a big demeanor loss for Buffalo and a huge one for KC.
Absolutely. I think a key is Mahomes extending, being able to extend plays. Buffalo did a really good job of disallowing that in the first matchup. He didn't
Yep.
get outside, and even when he did, he ended up having to just tuck it and run it for some yards. And if he wants to run for 60 yards in this game, Buffalo is going to be more than happy to take that. You know what I mean? If
Oh
you
yeah.
have to go 8 to 10 to 12 plays against Buffalo, I think the defense is just fine having that happen.
Been
The
sitting here
50% was up.
been sitting here quiet, and I just can't keep it inside anymore. I just want to
Let
let
it
you
out.
know the rookie from Miami Hurricanes, first round draft pick defensive end, had an incredible game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Not only did he have a
Yes, he
sack,
did.
right? But he also had an interception. Yeah, it was only for 3 yards, but he intercepted the ball while being in the
20.
trenches. So that was important. Plus, Micah Hyde had an interception, 26 yards, run back for a touchdown. I just think it's crazy. Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 54 times and only completed 33 for an average of five yards per play. That's incredible. They did have Tre'Davious White, though. I don't know how big of
That
a
was the
difference
game he went down.
was it.
Yeah.
So they destroyed them without him for the rest of the game. That's very interesting. Tariq Hill,
And on
Tariq
the season, Buffalo's allowing 165 yards through the air. Obviously, that's tops in the league. So their pass defense minus Tre'Davious White from week 5
got
still
better.
finished number 1.
Got better.
Yeah, but we've touched on that before. I think there was a lot of scenarios where Buffalo Bills capitalized on weak teams
Yeah.
and their defensive numbers skyrocketed, like the double shutouts against the Dolphins and the beating up on the Jaguars, and stuff like that. Like they had
Yeah,
a
that
lot
was
of
bad.
games.
Well, they got beat by the
Everything out-
Jaguars. They got beat up by the
Yes.
Jaguars.
Well, they didn't get beat. It was 9-6. Their offense didn't do
Yeah.
anything, but not like their defense let up a whole lot. The Texans scored 0. The Dolphins scored 0. The
That's
Saints
huge.
only scored 6.
That's huge.
Stuff like that. Like there was a lot of their defense. I'm not gonna say padded stats, but they took advantage of weak situations. And this Kansas City team, is moving in the right direction to where those stats
much better
don't matter
team.
right now. Those stats don't matter.
Yeah, you could say, and I can agree with you up until a point, but there's so many of them in so many different categories in favor of the Bills. Yes, Kansas City completely on board with you. They are a much different and much better team going through what they went through, having to rely on this different kind of offense to win games, having to rely on a more balanced attack with running the ball. And we've seen Buffalo be susceptible to the run. I don't think that's the way KC wants to play this game,
They had
but
120 yards rushing against Buffalo the last time they met. 23 carries. 8 of them were Mahomes for 61 yards. You got 1 from Tyreek Hill, 15 yards. The key to take away from this, Michael Burton, McKinnon, Edwards-Helaire, Darren Williams, all the names I just named. 23 times, 6 people touched the ball for 120 yards. Okay, 6 guys touched the ball. Not 1 touchdown. Not 1 touchdown out of 120 yards rushing. 200.
it's not really KC's forte, but yeah.
272 yards passing. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
That obviously, the 2 interceptions can't happen unless you want to be successful in this. Mahomes has to play a good game. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. I don't want to see you telling me he had 20-something incompletions. He had 21 incompletions.
In this game, Eddie, who's more important to shut down? Is it Josh Allen or is it Mahomes?
I gotta say it's Josh Allen's much more important
Again,
to shut down.
I asked you that question just to kind of reinforce the fact that I feel like Buffalo should be the favorite because, I mean, everything, when you really go down the list and really hit on it, it's all about what Buffalo needs not to do in order for KC to win this game.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, just like Brady said, I'm jumping on his back because these numbers don't mean shit when you get out there and it's playoff times and it's Patrick Mahomes and he's out there and he's slinging that rock around and everybody's wide open for some reason and you don't know how. And you can't say it's the offensive line is injured in this game and they got 2 of their best offensive linemen are out and blah, 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 blah. None of that. Look, here's the thing, right? Josh Allen needs to do more, I think, personally, than Patrick Mahomes needs to do.
Well said.
I think he needs to have over a 300-yard game, where he's throwing the ball for, averaging 12.1 yards. He's got 3 touchdowns. He's got a passer rating of 94 point, and I mean, look, the Chiefs got beat. And he had a passer rating of a QBR of 48, okay? And it's 38-20. I don't know. I don't know if we can have the same type of score if Josh Allen has a horrible game like Mahomes did and they only lost by 2 scores,
If those scores counted for 9 points apiece, but yeah.
That's true. 3 scores.
For me, it's Buffalo as long as they keep the Singletary action up. Because to me, KC can't match that. I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he's a great back. I think he's a great utility for them. But they can't match that running attack and that running speed of an offense to.
They gave up. They gave up on Singletary in the last meeting because Zach Moss had 11, Josh Allen had 11, and Singletary had 6 touches for 25 yards, and his longest run was 9, and he didn't score a touchdown. It's also odd that, again, the only person that had a touchdown in this game amongst them the last time was Josh Allen. Even Zach Moss with the 37 yards, and his averages per carry are horrible. 4.2, 3.4. That's not
They
a
were
starting.
horrible. They were horrible all year long until after the Bucs game. They changed their offense, and that's why they're winning, and that's why they've become a heavy favorite in my eyes to be that AFC Super Bowl representative, because they've changed that offense and became balanced.
100% right. I mean, we talked about. I know I did. I was super. I was definitely high on Buffalo coming into this season and their defense and everything that they were capable of doing. And they showed up and showed out, and they showed everyone, look, man, we're number one. We're number one in defense. We're here. We're not going anywhere. And if you guys don't like it, well, just come push us out of the way and take it. And I mean, like, if there's a team out there that can come over here and take it, it's definitely the Kansas City Chiefs. They have been playing a lot better. I'm
Not
really,
to be taken lightly.
I'm really torn here. I'm super torn on this game, because it's just like, I'm not even looking at this game or this game. What is this? Week 3? Week 5?
Week 5.
Week 5. I'm not even super duper high on the fact that they beat them already. I'm really not, considering I can look a couple weeks later, a handful of weeks later, week 8, the New York Giants lost to them by 3 points. What? I mean, yeah, they're struggling, and then they start coming out of struggling, 48-9 against the Raiders.
The Raiders were definitely the get right.
They win in overtime.
That's when everybody said, okay, the offense is back.
And they win in overtime against a Chargers team that beat them up and took it the first time around.
Yeah,
they also struggled down the stretch, losing to Cincinnati. That was a big game for them.
That's their only loss. That was their only loss. That's their only loss since beating the since losing to the Tennessee Titans week 7, 27-3.
Also, look at who they played, though, and where's the contender in there?
Well, you beat
in that stretch.
You beat Cincinnati. Las Vegas was a playoff team.
You didn't beat. You lost to Cincinnati.
Lost to Cincinnati.
Well, you lost to Cincinnati, but they were a playoff team. You beat Vegas. They were a playoff team. You beat Dallas.
Game, though.
You beat Dallas. They were a playoff team. You beat Green Bay. They were a playoff team.
Without Rodgers.
You beat Green Bay with with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Hey man, you told me to rattle them off, bro. I did, and they beat 4 playoff teams.
I like the fact that Buffalo's scoring 17 points on average in the second half on the road, and Kansas City is only scoring 11 after half at home. This is another game, just like I said with the Patriots, that ultimately Buffalo has more talent than Kansas City does, and I think ultimately that ends up winning out. I think Buffalo is the team to beat in the AFC. And yes, it's going to be a great game. And no, do I push aside Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce about what they're capable of? Do I disregard Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu and the young linebacking core that they have with Bolton and Hitchens and Gay? They've been phenomenal. There's talent. There's plenty of talent on KC, and they are playing totally different from that Week 3 matchup. 110% agree. But at the end of the day, the talent level on both sides of the ball and the multitude of abilities that Buffalo possesses to affect the game, and it's gonna take. And you're right. Josh Allen's got to have a great game. I agree with you 110%, Eddie. But to Brady's point, too, if you're running the ball a little bit better, that just makes Josh Allen that more comfortable, and to be able to not feel like everything's on his shoulders.
Oh, that's
If
important.
Kansas City can rattle Josh Allen and make him feel like he's got to be Superman and he's got to win this game and forget about his team, then yes, I feel like KC wins. I just don't feel like that particular scenario, which is like the one, is gonna happen.
I know that the Pittsburgh Steelers were not as a legitimate contender defensively, offensively, as what they're going to face in the Buffalo Bills. But I just got to point out the last game that they just played a week ago, he had 1 interception, okay? But he had 5 touchdowns, okay?
Yeah.
404 yards. He averaged 10.4 per play. 39 attempts for 30 completions.
He was phenomenal last week.
Not only
But I mean,
that,
if you look across the board, which team would you say is better, the Patriots or the Steelers this year?
the Patriots by far, I would say. Especially going
And
into the game that they played.
Buffalo did the same thing that KC did to Pittsburgh, only worse.
So you got Travis Kelce threw a touchdown pass in that game. That was
Yeah, they were having fun by the end.
good for him.
And they had just done that to Pittsburgh too. It was demoralizing for Pittsburgh to have the same exact thing, probably worse thing happen to them, given Ben Roethlisberger's last. But I mean, the way that game started out, can you imagine Buffalo getting the ball? I mean, Pittsburgh's offense absolutely didn't move the ball the whole first half, and Kansas City didn't get. They got 2 of those 21 points that they scored in the first half off the last 7 minutes of the half. If you spot Buffalo 3 punts, which their defense is capable of doing the same thing that Pittsburgh started out doing, I would fair to imagine that Buffalo's at least going to score a touchdown off of those 3 punts. So KC's offense has got to play much better than they did against Pittsburgh. The numbers kind of lie to me about how that score ended up. From the get-go of the game against the Patriots, Buffalo was no doubt the best team on the field start to finish. There was never even a question that was going to be a game. They dominated. Again, I think you throw both those games out though too, and like you said with the stats and stuff like that, this is a new one. You know, this is throw the records out, throw all the history out.
Yeah, but I just want to point out real quick. I want to point out, and not only the Kansas City Chiefs game, Week 5. All right, you said they destroyed the New England Patriots. And
Last week?
Last week.
Yeah, last week. They destroyed the New England Patriots. Josh Allen had 300 yards, 12.3, 5 touchdowns. He had a 98.5. He had a 94 against the Chiefs. He had 315 yards against the Chiefs. I think he had 15 completions as opposed to 21. That's what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to, I don't know. I'm trying to say, like,
in the big games, Josh Allen has been there.
We're at the ceiling.
He hasn't been the reason they lost the big games this year.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that even the games he's been the best at, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's good. I'm not taking away, but I mean, they destroyed the Patriots. Maybe he took the foot off the gas and they ran it a little bit more. 29 carries, 174 yards, as opposed to 23 carries, and now they're running the ball a little bit more. I mean, they're not really running the ball more. So I don't know. It's something to. I'm bringing up the numbers when the numbers kind of sometimes. Shout out Nick. I'm a firm believer in the numbers lying sometimes, but I'm just looking at the numbers. I'm like, could he do better if he needed to be? Could he throw for 400 yards if he needed to be? Could he be perfect without interceptions and everything if he had to throw the ball 40 times? Like Mahomes is 53. 53 times. I'm saying if we get into a position and Buffalo has to
I'd
throw
say
the ball.
pound for pound, Mahomes is a better quarterback than Josh Allen, if that's what you're ultimately trying to get at.
No. I'm just saying, can his ceiling go a little bit higher than we've seen? It's like it really hasn't gone. Every time I go and I look, it's kind of the same numbers. I mean, yeah, they won the game, but I'm saying, like, we're talking about a Chiefs team that literally has been garbage all year until the end, and now we're here. And they're not garbage anymore. And Mahomes is thrown for 400 yards. That's why I'm saying I'm just trying to see this in a different way here. It's like, we're seeing the absolute best of Josh Allen, and we've seen the absolute. That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. I'm saying if we needed more, could we get more? Because I'm already seeing Mahomes.
It seems reasonable.
I lost a lot of. Sorry, I lost a lot of from the beginning of the season up until about just over midway. I lost a lot of credibility thinking the Bills were going to be the number one, great team, and it wasn't until they changed their offense that they are now back to being who everyone thought they were going into the season, and they needed to change. And now KC did a similar scenario where they changed their offense and their defense. But I just think that the Buffalo Bills, Charlie's argument is they're more talented across the board and they're more well-rounded as a team. KC, improving as an offense, they need Mahomes to be Mahomes, they need Hill to be Hill, and Kelsey to be Kelsey. There's nothing else. Whereas Bills have a run game. Bills have Josh Allen, who's still in that mindset to where I can run for 100 yards a game and still be a good passer. He still has great receivers and tight ends as well. Knox has been huge for them. I just think they're a more well-rounded offense than KC.
I can't argue that at all as much as I want to argue that point. I can't. I mean, Edwards-Helaire is also not a guy you want to trust down on the goal line. Maybe Gore could be. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, he's still young, and we haven't seen much of him. It's obviously been Williams, and it's been Helaire, and you're not getting much touchdown. I mean, maybe I think you have 11 within the two of them together combined. But it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. I'm really interested in seeing who gets ball first in this game. This is going to be one of those games for me where it's like, all of these things we're talking about could be factors.
The tone that's set.
All these things could be factors. The run game and all of this could very well be factors. The two games, though, that were blowouts for Buffalo, you would think they scored over 40 points, 23 touches. I don't know. And that's week 3 compared with this last playoff game, which they only ran it 25 times. Against week 3 they played KC? They only ran it 23 times. Week 5, they only ran it 23 times. I don't know. Both games they scored a reasonable.
Also scored on defense too. So I mean, that's just again not to rehash it up, but just like Brady said, like on both sides of the ball, Buffalo has proven pretty consistently, and stats, whatever they are, being number 1 and all that stuff, and number 2 in scoring and offense as well. Like, they've done it all year. Their record doesn't quite reflect how good they have been all year. And Josh Allen definitely has had his struggles at the beginning of the year, finding their true identity on offense, and finding that run balance with that. And him playing within himself, I think, has been another maturing year. We saw him take a step forward last year. I think this was another step forward. And to go back to your original question about can he get better, can he do more, I don't see why not. I don't see why he couldn't go blow for blow with the weapons he has and the ability that he possesses, both with his leg and his arm strength and accuracy. I don't see why he couldn't go blow for blow, touchdown for touchdown with Patrick Mahomes. I really don't. I mean, if it took 6 touchdowns, if it took 7 touchdowns, like, the kid has not really shown anything down the stretch, and then obviously to start off the playoffs to say that he can't.
There's no one injured for Buffalo. I mean, you can't. I mean, like
Both teams are pretty healthy.
I mean, yeah.
Patriots are
Mario
the
Davis,
KC
Mario Addison. Sorry,
Addison.
Mario Addison is I mean,
He was their leader in sacks this year, so
he participated in practice. You know, we all know Tre'Davious White is out. You know, I mean, he's not playing. But I mean, maybe Justin Zimmer is interesting. We know Christian Wade is not. Okay, Christian Wade, the running back out of Temple or Tulane.
That's your boy from Madden.
He's out. Okay, Brian Cox Jr. He's out. Okay, I mean, I want a rushing title with the guy, bro. I want a rushing title.
Funny.
With
That's funny.
I want to pick last on this one because I'm still really dead in the middle, man. Because there's really.
I gotta go Buffalo. It's just too many things to me that need to go right for KC in order for them to win this game. I think it's relatively close, but I'll add every game that Buffalo's won this season has been by 12 points or over. So when they win, it's a big win. And to me, everything that I said and we talked about right here sounds like KC from the past 2 years. The same stuff we talked about KC the past 2 years, minus some of the defensive things, and that just makes my feelings towards it's Buffalo here even that more stronger.
Brady, what are you doing for me?
I like Buffalo as well because I can sit here and try to knock on Buffalo and how they only have 2 wins against teams with a winning record this year, but I think that's a completely different team than what you're seeing now. I don't think that they're that team that they were when they were losing those games, or barely and dominating. They were dominating the bad teams and losing to good teams, but I think they're a whole new team now, and I just think that you can take that good defense and now you're matching it with a well-rounded offense, and I just don't know if KC can match blow for blow or steadily. I think KC needs a lot of big plays, big explosions. And again, it's just a thing that I think KC needs a lot to go, what Charlie's saying, a lot in their favor to win this game. Maybe not a lot, but a handful of things to go in their favor to win this game.
Yeah.
What's the verdict, good? Give the people what they want.
I'm going Kansas City here.
You should.
Because
you laughed at me preseason.
because I'm going Kansas City here because let the record show that the teams that have beaten them, they've come back and beat also. And it doesn't even matter about how much. I don't care how much. The end result here is to win and move on. Everything that you said about Buffalo is my rebuttal to you, Brady, because we're not looking at the same Kansas City team this week coming up that we had talked about going, where is Kansas City? And is this coaching staff even watching the games? How do they keep doing the same things over and over and over again? I don't know if you know this or not, but the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs also was the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants when they beat Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, who were undefeated. So I think if there's a squad, I'm bringing up a coach here now. Usually this is the Braidster bringing up the coaches.
He's done a wonderful job. He's done a great job.
Steve Spagnuolo, Steve
Nola.
Is the defensive coordinator that I am referring to. And if this man can stand up and invent a situation that's never been done before called the NASCAR package, if this man can invent that and come up and rise to the occasion with a 9-7 New York Giants team and just dominate the the New England Patriots in a game where you could argue is just, not a game the Giants could have won. But the defense stood up there.
KC ain't got no Strahan though.
That's not fair.
No OC.
But they have a Chris.
No Justin Tuck.
But they
do have a Chris Jones.
They do have a Chris Jones, and that's where I was trying to go with
Chris Jones.
Yeah, it's not fair that you guys didn't say Jay Alford. You didn't say Matthias Kiwanuka from Boston College, who was a third-round draft pick. Okay.
Eddie, I feel like your argument for Kansas City is you're a rubber band and you're stretched as far as you can go, and you might as well just pick Buffalo. I feel like you should pick Buffalo. I think you've held on to it for so long, and it's just gonna snap. And if I ask you tomorrow, you're gonna be on Buffalo.
You know, that very well might be right, but that's it. By tomorrow morning, this will be on the internet, and everyone will see that I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs, Steve Spagnuolo, and everything everything that Andy Reid has been able to do up until this point.
He wants a piece of chocolate cake because that is his favorite thing. Y'all seen that?
No.
Y'all seen that quote by him? He said somebody asked him, how would you compare like the feeling that you have right now, being that you've been to the Super Bowl past couple of years? You know, are you and your team still hungry? And he's like, I compare it to chocolate cake. I like chocolate cake, and you know, if somebody's gonna basically give me a bigger piece of chocolate cake, then yeah, that's what I want, and I like that chocolate cake. So, Andy Reid, hell of a football coach. Hell of a.
I mean, hey, you know, it's
really
a new
good at
season.
answering questions.
You got a new dinner plate.
He likes food too.
You want a new dessert.
I mean, we can tell, Andy. We know you like chocolate cake. It's not a secret.
No secret. Why am I picking the Chiefs? I don't know. I'm hoping Mahomes could just edge out a little bit more of what your boy Allen's going to bring to the table. I love me some Josh Allen, man. What is there not to like about Josh Allen? I'm only taking the Kansas City Chiefs because, you know, I have to pick a team. I really like Buffalo. I like Buffalo coming into this year.
You're a giant homer, and you want Spagnuolo to pop off.
It'd be nice to see.
And this whole time, he was trying to find something to tie to the Giants and whip it in.
On every single team.
8x Giants players were in the wild card weekend. So I figured
there it is.
I mean, I could probably go further.
And what is it, like all 6 of them have now made it to the 6 of the 8? So the Giants are just let people go.
Yeah.
Every one of their first round draft picks.
Yeah.
Eli Apple.
We're not DeAndre Baker. We're not good at flipping the coin. So maybe I could be better at flipping the coin. I don't know, but I'm going Kansas City Chiefs here because Mahomes has been absolutely incredible in the playoffs. That's another reason why I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs out there in Missouri to show up and show out. Hey man, I mean, you even got Travis Kelce throwing touchdowns. It was a 2-yard play, but you know, I'm still gonna talk it up, baby. You know, a touchdown's a touchdown, baby. Don't matter how you got it, but it's one.
Absolutely. No,
all right, gentlemen.
It's gonna be a phenomenal watch. This was fun. It was fun breaking down all these ones.
A lot of real good games. I think pretty much every one of them is gonna be a hard fought battle. I don't think you're gonna get a Cardinals implosion or
it's not gonna look like
Philly
last
outclass weekend. Or a Philly outclass moment. You know, no knock to you Philly fans.
I can agree with that.
Your year.
I can't disagree with that. All these teams are polished, they're solidified, and the ones that weren't, they are now. So I think it's interesting to see, you know, can a lot of these guys keep the ball rolling with their team and moving in the right direction, like the Cincinnati Bengals, like the 49ers, like the Kansas City Chiefs, apparently. You know, teams like that. But very, very, very interesting to see moving forward. These are some incredible games.
Can the Bucks repeat? I mean, there's storylines for days on this stuff.
I hope so, man. Yeah. I hope the Bucks do repeat. That'd be very, 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 very great to see.
We can face Henry number 22 on the 22nd day of February on the 2022. And
who wants to watch that? Oh man! Thanks for checking us out, everybody.
Great school me from back in the '90s wants to see Buffalo take it all the way.
No doubt.
Huge Buffalo Bill fan. Huge Buffalo Bill fan.
Lose on the 1 yard line again? Are they going to lose on the 1 yard line again?
It was disgusting. I gave up having a favorite team after that 5 straight Super Bowls.
I don't blame you, man.
It was horrible.
I stopped watching basketball because I was a Knicks fan. Should have been a Nets fan. It wouldn't have hurt so much. Jesus.
Wouldn't have had,
Jesus, you know what I mean? All right, everybody. Peace. Come check us out next week.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Peace.